Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to take on the hardest subjects, the things that, really unlock human potential and break them down into insights you can actually use. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the absolute foundation of success, and that is discipline. Now, when most people think about discipline, they picture, willpower or some kind of superhero level of motivation.
Right.
But here's the critical, surprising truth, and it really changes everything. Discipline isn't about feeling motivated. It's about forcing action when you absolutely do not want to.
Yes, when every fiber of your being is screaming for comfort.
Exactly.
That distinction is the true separator. It really is. That willingness to embrace the deep discomfort of forcing yourself to move when the feelings just aren't there. That's the reality that separates consistent success from constant failure.
And it doesn't matter what we're talking about, does it? Fitness, finance, creative work, it's all the same.
The universal principle.
And if you're listening, you know the cycle. We all do. You feel overwhelmed or you just feel stuck. And you stand there waiting for that magical burst of motivation.
Oh, and that Hollywood energy.
Yeah, that Hollywood energy that's supposed to make the hard stuff feel easy. You wait for the stars to align, for the perfect mood to just descend upon you.
And it rarely shows up, does it?
Almost never.
Motivation is a feeling. And feelings are, well, they're notoriously unreliable. They're fleeting. They're based on temporary things. They are just a terrible foundation to build a life on.
So our mission in this deep dive is to shortcut that whole painful waiting process.
Completely. We've pulled the most actionable strategies from our source material on how to gain immediate self-control, on how to build genuine discipline right from the ground up.
So we're moving beyond the theory.
Way beyond the theory. We're getting right into the immediate implementation of behavioral change.
Okay, so let's establish our core definition right up front, because we need to be crystal clear about what we're talking about for the next half hour or so.
Good idea.
Discipline, at its core, is the deliberate act of forcing yourself to do what must be done, even when you don't want to.
Even when you don't want to. That's the key part.
It's not a choice you get to make only on your good days. You've had a perfect night's sleep and your coffee tastes amazing.
No, it's the decision you make every single day, especially when it feels hardest, heaviest, and almost pointless.
And the importance of this, it can't be overstated, can it? Because we really need to confront the cost of avoiding this reality.
We do. Just think for a moment. Think about the lost opportunities you've already had just because you delayed action or you chose ease. Think about the progress that comfort has already stolen from your future self.
That's a powerful way to put it. Stolen.
It is stolen. We tend to underestimate just how dangerous that small daily choice for ease really is. It's not just one missed workout. It's the compounding interest of choosing comfort every single time.
That compounding interest, that's the critical mechanism we have to reverse, isn't it?
Exactly.
So we're going to unpack this by looking at 10 fundamental shifts. Basically, 9 mechanisms that lead to immediate self-control and build that genuine, lasting discipline.
And we have to begin with the absolute foundation, which has to be an aggressive stance. It starts with confronting laziness and absolutely refusing to negotiate with it.
Refusing to negotiate.
You have to treat laziness not as some harmless mood, but as the enemy of our future. Discipline isn't something you just, stumble upon gently. It has to be faced, confronted, and most importantly, it has to be forced into your life.
That sounds almost militaristic. But I think that intensity is necessary because of the nature of laziness itself. So tell me, why is negotiation so dangerous here? Why is it such an absolute rule that we can't even have a single debate with ourselves?
Because if you negotiate with laziness even once, the source material is so clear on this, it wins the argument every single time.
Why? What's the mechanism there?
Well, the reason is fascinating from a cognitive perspective. Laziness, or really the brain's preference for saving energy, it never runs out of excuses. It's fundamentally driven by the limbic system. That's the part of the brain focused on immediate safety and comfort. It will always have another reason ready.
Like what?
Oh, you worked hard yesterday, you deserve a break. Or the conditions aren't perfect yet, just wait until Monday.
Wait until Monday. The classic.
It's the classic, right? Or you'll do it later when you have more energy. These aren't rational thoughts. They're deeply ingrained defense mechanisms designed to keep you safe and, well, inert.
So by refusing to negotiate,
You build a protective firewall, you establish a standard, an impenetrable one. You stand your ground.
and what makes this so difficult is that laziness is so sneaky. It rarely shows up as that, stereotypical image of someone lying on the couch watching TV. That's easy to spot.
Exactly. Laziness disguises itself brilliantly,
Hmm.
often as what we might call low-effort maintenance.
Okay, what does that mean?
Sometimes it's just endless scrolling on your phone. It feels like harmless entertainment, but it's fundamentally a form of mental avoidance. You're avoiding anything that demands real focus. Sometimes it's unnecessary eating, using that momentary pleasure to avoid cognitive discomfort, and most treacherously, it looks like busy work.
Busy work. That's the classic trap,
It's
isn't
the
it?
ultimate self-deception. Busy work is all those tasks that keep you moving. You're organizing files, you're answering non-urgent emails.
Researching something for hours that you already know enough about.
Yes. All of which feels productive, but it's all designed to avoid the one difficult, high-leverage thing that truly matters.
So you feel exhausted at the end of the day. You think you've succeeded.
But in reality, you just dedicated 8 hours to strategic avoidance.
So it fools you into believing you're doing enough when you're actually just avoiding what's difficult. And that means you're avoiding progress. This is where it gets really interesting, this core truth about progress.
The core truth, and this must be internalized, is that progress is always found in what is difficult. Always.
The friction.
The friction, the things that push you, the tasks that demand your focus, the ones that require real mental effort, the things that make you sweat or feel awkward. Those are the specific mechanisms that shape you into a person of discipline.
So if you're always seeking the path of least resistance,
You're training your internal system to avoid the very things that create growth. You are actively pruning away your own potential.
and that avoidance, it carries a profound character cost. You said it's compounding, but in reverse.
It's deeply compounding. And this might be the most important lesson in this whole section. Every time you turn your back on discipline, you strengthen the neural pathways of laziness.
You make it easier to be lazy next time.
Exactly. Every time you choose immediate comfort over necessary action, you condition your mind to obey the urge to quit. Then, when your life demands focus, when a major opportunity or crisis comes up, you're already conditioned to retreat.
You think you're just skipping one workout.
Right? Or delaying one email. But what you're really doing is building the unbreakable habit of saying no to discipline. And that conditioning, it hurts you when the stakes are highest.
So if we reframe this, forcing discipline, it's not about self-punishment, is it? Or being unreasonably harsh on yourself. It's something much higher.
It is the highest form of self-respect. When you refuse to negotiate with that internal whisper of laziness, you are effectively telling yourself, I am worth the effort.
My goals are worth this temporary discomfort.
My future is worth this sacrifice. You're showing seriousness about your own potential. You're honoring the future version of yourself who desperately needs the results of today's effort.
That reframing discipline as self-respect, that's a really powerful cognitive tool.
Yeah.
But for someone who's currently stuck in that cycle of negotiation, what's the starting point? How do you actually break this pattern?
You start small, but you start aggressively.
Okay.
Pick one thing you know you need to do. Maybe it's opening that difficult document. Maybe it's doing 3 push-ups, or maybe it's just standing up from your chair.
And then?
And then you do it immediately, without thinking about it, without debating it, and crucially, without asking how you feel about it.
These are the micro victories.
Exactly. Small victories, stacked on top of each other, create an unbreakable foundation that laziness it can't penetrate. You prove to yourself, in miniature, that action follows intent.
That idea of immediate aggressive action, that's a perfect transition, actually. It leads right into our next section because it deals directly with the mechanism of response. We're moving into training instant response with small actions. The secret of real, reliable discipline is built entirely in small actions. Actions taken the precise moment they are needed. Hesitation is the enemy here.
It really is.
Every time you delay, every time you wait for even 5 seconds, you weaken your ability to respond to your own direction. Instant action it cuts off the problem at the root.
And we need to understand the psychology of that pause, that moment of hesitation. It's not neutral space.
No.
It's the precise point where the brain's defense mechanism kicks in. And it is fast.
It's so fast. The human brain is the ultimate excuse factory, and it operates at lightning speed. Immediate action is so powerful because within literally seconds of thinking about doing something hard,
Like working out or starting a difficult report.
right, your mind instantly generates a detailed list of arguments against it. It tells you you're too tired, you'll have more energy later, or it's not urgent right now. This is your limbic system hijacking your executive function.
Which is why that decision-making window is so incredibly narrow.
Precisely. Those arguments only appear if you wait. If you can force yourself to physically move before your brain has time to debate the idea,
Right.
before that list of excuses even loads, you win the internal battle by default.
You've initiated action.
And the cognitive debate just becomes moot. That's why small, instant actions matter so much more than big, delayed intentions.
So it's literally a race against your own internal monologue. And if the action starts first, the brain shifts from debating whether to do it to debating how to optimize it. You've changed the entire cognitive landscape.
And we have specific practical training techniques for this. Anyone can implement these today. The first one is what we call the alarm rule. As soon as the alarm rings, and I mean to the instant it rings, you stand up immediately. Not after checking your phone, not after hitting snooze once. Stand.
It's so simple.
But that small daily victory reinforces one message. I control my response and I obey my own command. That is the first lesson in self-mastery.
Yeah, what's the second one?
The second technique, again, incredibly simple but so effective for removing hesitation in the middle of the day, is the 3-2-1 move rule.
Okay.
If you find yourself delaying a task, you're just staring at the document or lingering at the kitchen counter countdown from 3, and then you physically force yourself to move on 1.
It's an external command.
It breaks the waiting habit. It forces a new immediate reflex. Act now, don't think about it.
And this discipline of instant action, it does so much more than just improve productivity. It speaks directly to self-trust, doesn't it? To personal integrity.
It fundamentally builds self-trust. Discipline is about teaching yourself that your actions consistently follow your decisions.
Right.
If you decide to do something, but then you delay it for an hour, you're teaching yourself to doubt your own word. You're signaling to your mind that your intentions are optional.
But if you decide and act instantly,
You're teaching yourself reliability. That reliability grows into confidence, which grows into consistency, which is the definition of a disciplined life.
and I think listeners often struggle here because the small steps feel so insignificant, especially compared to the size of their ultimate goals.
But the sources are so clear on this. You absolutely cannot skip the small steps. These small actions are the training ground for the big ones. Picking up a book for 10 minutes today trains the exact mental muscle that will help you start a business tomorrow. Standing up instantly with your alarm trains the same discipline that will help you stay resilient under massive pressure later in life.
If you can't win the small battles, you have zero chance in the big ones.
Zero. And we have to emphasize that the danger of delay, it goes beyond just wasted time. There's an internal psychological cost.
A heavy one.
It weakens your self-respect. It introduces a kind of psychological debt. Every time you delay, you feel that little weight of disappointment, that small regret, I should have done that. It builds.
Into a generalized frustration with yourself.
And if it's repeated long enough, that frustration spirals into self-doubt. That is the dangerous self-destructive cycle of hesitation.
Whereas immediate action.
Immediate action, even on something tiny, instantly creates momentum and pride, not regret. And that internal pride is the sustainable fuel for the next action. You shift your cycle from destructive hesitation to constructive momentum.
So the mechanism of instant action addresses the body's inertia. But once you've learned to move instantly, you have to control the mental battlefield that threatens to undermine all that effort. Which brings us directly to mastering the inner dialogue. Because you can win the battle of instant action today, but if your internal chatter is still dominated by weakness and self-pity, you will eventually lose the war.
The greatest battles of discipline are fought inside the mind.
Truly. Thoughts are not just harmless passengers in our heads, are they?
Not at all. They're the seeds of action. Every single action you take is just an extension of what you allow to stay and fester in your mind.
Fester's a good word for it.
If your thoughts are uncontrolled, Your mind becomes a playground for negativity. That constant stream of I'm too tired, I'm not capable, or it's not worth the effort, that will shape your actions.
And it leads inevitably to avoidance, hesitation, and settling for less than you're capable of. The person who repeatedly tells themselves that they'll never improve eventually stops trying.
So the first critical step is thought management. And that has to begin with awareness. We have to shine a light on the chatter.
Awareness is absolutely crucial. Too many people live on autopilot. They assume their thoughts are these immutable facts when they're often just opinions or interpretations or echoes of past failures.
So you have to stop and examine them.
You have to learn to stop and examine your thoughts as if you're observing a stranger speak. Ask simple, piercing questions. Is this thought leading me forward or is it holding me back? Is it building discipline or destroying it?
And the very act of asking those questions.
It separates the director, from the thought. It gives you the power to choose how to respond instead of just being controlled by the thought itself.
And once we identify a destructive thought, we can't just stop thinking. Right. So what's the second step in managing this internal landscape?
Replacement. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the mind is no different. If you want to get rid of a destructive thought, you must replace it instantly.
So you don't just eliminate, I can't do this.
No, you replace it immediately with something like, I may struggle, but I can learn and I will improve. You are actively directing your mind toward an internal dialogue that builds strength and capability and possibility.
Instead of letting it default to weakness.
Precisely.
This moves us into a more advanced phase of self-control, which the source material calls strict self-direction. This is about taking the reins entirely, moving from just filtering thoughts to issuing firm commands.
This is about adopting the identity of a leader in your own life. You absolutely must speak to yourself like a leader giving orders, not a critic tearing you down.
The tone matters.
The tone you use with yourself matters immensely. If you treat your own commands lightly, your actions will be light and optional. If you treat them with seriousness, your actions will follow with the necessary strength. It's an act of identity creation.
And that direction, it needs to be precise. I love this point that vague encouragement is actually a form of internal weakness.
Precision is the antidote to internal sabotage and excuses. Vague encouragement like, oh, I can do it if I try, is weak. It leaves too much room for interpretation.
Right.
Strict direction requires precision and clarity. Write the introduction paragraph now. Start walking for 10 minutes at a brisk pace. Turn off the phone and focus until the timer ends. Precision eliminates the room for excuses.
So how do we handle the emotional resistance when we issue those precise commands? That feeling of, I don't feel like obeying myself.
You respond with unwavering firmness and authority. You are leading yourself, not negotiating with a subordinate.
You're the general.
You are. When your mind says, I don't feel like it, or I'm not in the mood, you must respond with authority. Feelings are irrelevant. Do it now. This seriousness is required. If you give yourself soft orders, you'll get soft results. Discipline thrives only when your inner voice expects and receives immediate obedience.
Then we have to pay special attention here to identifying what's called false kindness. This is often the hardest type of self-talk to defeat.
It is a critical, insidious trap because it wears the mask of self-care.
Right.
Negative self-talk doesn't always sound like harsh criticism. Sometimes it disguises itself as comfort. It tells you that you deserve to rest when you haven't yet worked.
You've had a tough week. Just take it easy today.
Exactly. Just one episode won't hurt. These are dangerous traps that keep you weak by justifying retreat. Strict direction cuts through this deception by establishing principles. Rest is earned through completed effort, not given as a reward in advance. Do the work first.
But if someone is struggling with years of internal criticism, how do they suddenly make that leader voice believable and firm? It might feel fake at first.
That's the real challenge, because trust is earned even with yourself. The key is that the leader voice must earn its credibility by consistently following through on the smallest commands first.
Start small.
If the leader voice commands you to walk for 10 minutes and you fail, the voice loses authority. But if it commands you to drink one glass of water and you obey instantly, it gains a tiny bit of authority. You build firmness by focusing on absolute non-negotiable compliance with micro commands.
So the more you obey the small directives.
The more believable and powerful the strict directions become when a major challenge comes along.
So the ultimate goal of mastering this inner dialogue isn't just to feel better, is to establish an internal system of governance.
Exactly. The ultimate goal is to create an inner voice that is completely trusted, one that gives clear, firm direction and expects immediate, non-negotiable obedience. When you build that voice, you no longer have to rely on temporary bursts of motivation or external pressure.
Your identity takes over.
Your identity, the kind of person who follows their own clear direction, is what allows discipline to become a natural, inevitable extension of who you are.
That sense of inevitability, that's what we're aiming for. And once you've established that strict inner direction, you need the vehicle to carry it forward. Which brings us to section 4, the power of forced repetition. The brain is essentially a prediction and pattern-seeking machine. Human behavior is built on neurological patterns. The brain adapts to whatever input is repeated.
Regardless of whether that repetition is useful, like building muscle strength, or destructive, like chronic procrastination.
Right. If you repeat procrastination, it becomes comfortable and natural. If you repeat strength, it becomes automatic.
And this requires accepting a fundamental truth. Rewiring a strong behavioral pattern is going to require discomfort and persistence.
Absolutely. The only proven way to rewire the brain is through deliberate, forced repetition, until the new behavior stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling normal.
And at first, it will feel uncomfortable.
Oh, profoundly unnatural. That new action, waking up early, sitting down to write, it'll feel awkward. But repetition physically changes the neural pathways. It changes what your brain accepts as familiar and necessary. The difficulty fades, and the behavior moves from unusual effort to routine expectation.
I think this is precisely where the majority of people fail. They quit right in the middle of that uncomfortable, awkward adjustment stage.
That's the quitting trap. It's so critical to understand its mechanism. People expect discipline to feel natural and easy immediately. They're used to being motivated by novelty or reward.
So they interpret the resistance they feel
as a signal to stop. But that resistance is actually a positive signal. It means your brain is actively adjusting. You are pushing against the old grooves. If you stop now, you confirm to your brain that resistance works.
So you have to force yourself through that stage.
You have to. You must. This means we have to prioritize consistency over intensity.
Heavily. Consistency is the absolute non-negotiable key to behavioral change. Doing one massive effort, a 100-page burst of writing, a 7-hour workout, and then stopping for 2 weeks doesn't rewire anything.
But doing something small every day does.
Reading 2 pages daily is neurologically and psychologically far more powerful than reading 100 pages once a month. The brain learns through rhythm, through the daily expected act of repeating, not through random, intense bursts of effort.
So we must survive that middle stage, that period where the behavior feels boring, unnatural, and the results aren't tangible yet.
You must endure it. You must endure the stage where it feels uncomfortable, even monotonous, until you break through to the automatic stage. Quitting too soon prevents the habit from ever taking root.
It's like planting a tiny sapling and digging it up every few days to check on its roots.
It will never grow strong enough to support itself. You have to allow for the boredom and the repetition to cement the new identity.
And each time you repeat that behavior, you're doing more than just building the habit. You're building internal, undeniable evidence for your own mind.
And that evidence is profoundly powerful. Each disciplined repetition builds proof that you can do this. One push-up proves physical capability. One day of focused work proves you can direct your time.
And this evidence weakens self-doubt,
which is fed by the lack of follow-through, and it strengthens belief. Eventually, the belief becomes so strong that the behavior is no longer forced. It's just who you are, based on undeniable internal evidence.
Okay, so practically speaking, what are the most effective strategies for forcing that repetition rhythm, especially when the day is just full of friction?
The most effective method is called habit stacking. This is all about leveraging existing patterns. You attach a new desired behavior to an existing established one.
So you create a natural trigger.
A natural trigger and repetition rhythm. For example, you commit to writing a gratitude journal immediately after you brush your teeth, or doing a few push-ups immediately after pouring your morning glass of water.
By linking the new behavior to an old automatic one.
You bypass the need for decision-making and make repetition far easier to achieve without forgetting.
And we must be willing to endure the inevitable monotony that comes with this.
Absolutely. Boredom is not the signal of failure. It is part of the training. The brain constantly craves novelty and excitement, but novelty does not build discipline.
Discipline, boring repetition does.
You must endure the plain days, the days where the task feels uneventful and dull, because consistency without needing excitement proves your seriousness to your subconscious mind. It proves you're committed to the process, not just the fleeting feeling of motivation.
And the ultimate payoff of all this forced repetition is that fundamental identity shift we discussed earlier.
It's the transformation from "I am trying to be disciplined" to the simple declarative statement, "I am disciplined."
It's not just a change in words.
No, it's a change in your identity structure. You no longer have to remind yourself every morning. The act is simply what you do. You no longer depend on the fragile nature of willpower. You depend on the certainty of who you've become through forced, consistent repetition over time.
That powerful sense of consistency built through repetition gives you a strong foundation. But you still have to contend with that constant gravitational pull of ease and comfort, which leads us to Section 5, creating pressure when comfort calls.
Comfort is fundamentally the ultimate anti-discipline force. It feels safe, familiar, and inherently pleasant, but it is constantly pulling you away from high-leverage progress by just whispering that you can delay.
Adds no urgency.
No urgency at all. It always convinces you that waiting until tomorrow or next week is perfectly fine. It seeks stasis.
So we need to artificially introduce urgency. We need pressure as a counterforce.
Pressure is the necessary tool. It creates urgency and demands immediate action, leaving no mental room for comfort to slow you down.
We've all experienced this, right? With deadlines.
Dramatically, with an externally imposed deadline, suddenly you can produce more in a few focused hours than you could in weeks of low-stakes effort. The ability was always there. The pressure forced the action.
So the key, then, is imposing that pressure on ourselves, making it internal and structural, rather than waiting for life or a demanding boss to impose it externally. What are the methods we can use?
Well, the first, and often the simplest, is accountability. Telling other people about a commitment.
Sharing a goal publicly, or telling a friend exactly what you plan to do by when.
It introduces social weight. If you only promise yourself you'll exercise, comfort talks you out of it easily. But if you tell others, you feel the immediate pressure of social expectation and reputation. It removes the easy option to slip back into comfort.
Secondly, deadlines. The source is very clear on this. A goal without a deadline is fundamentally just a wish.
Absolutely. If you say you'll get something done someday, comfort will happily stretch that day into months or even years. You have to set firm, short, non-negotiable deadlines.
That temporal urgency forces prioritization.
It forces you to cut distractions and accelerates growth. It makes the discomfort of the task seem less painful than the embarrassment of missing the deadline.
We can also use financial stake as a pressure tool. Money talks, even to our lazy brain.
Investing money, paying for a difficult class, buying specialized equipment, putting money down on a challenge, it creates instant, palpable pressure to follow through because there is something tangible to lose.
When there's nothing at stake, comfort takes over easily.
When your wallet is on the line, the calculation changes instantly.
And what about internal standards? Just raising the bar for ourselves.
Raising your internal standards introduces massive, sustained internal pressure. If you actively decide and commit to refusing mediocrity in a specific area, you introduce the pressure to perform at a higher level, even when you're tired or unmotivated or stressed.
It's not about seeking impossible perfection.
No, it's about refusing to settle for less than your known best effort. And that forces you to act with greater seriousness and consistency.
And the final method, visualizing the cost. This seems particularly potent emotionally. Using the pain of the future to motivate the action of the present.
It creates an emotional pressure that is often stronger and more sustainable than temporary motivation. You must intentionally visualize the future cost of choosing ease today. Picture the wasted opportunities. the accumulating regret over years.
The life that shrinks because you prioritize short-term comfort.
When you see clearly what today's small choice for ease will steal from you 10 years from now, you feel an immediate gut-wrenching urgency to move.
So when that moment of weakness hits,
Hmm.
say you start drifting toward the sofa instead of the desk, how do you apply the pressure immediately?
You apply it with a single, strict, non-negotiable command: stop immediately, physically change your posture, and speak with authority. Do it now, no delay.
That firmness.
The sheer firmness of those words creates instant, overwhelming pressure. It leaves no space for negotiation or the comfort urge to arise. That pressure pushes action at the most vulnerable moment.
And there's one overlooked form of pressure we can harness: responsibility.
When others genuinely depend on you, you can't afford the luxury of comfort. Responsibility forces you to rise above your temporary moods. Think of a parent, a CEO, a caregiver.
They act not because they feel motivated,
But because the pressure of responsibility creates a commitment that leaves no room for laziness. Taking on commitments that genuinely require your discipline, not just for you, but for others, utilizes this profound principle.
So ultimately, pressure isn't stress, it's structure.
Precisely. Pressure directs you. It forces you to act before temptation even has a chance to fully form. Relying on comfort shrinks your life, limiting your potential. Relying on pressure expands it, demanding that you become stronger, more reliable, and more disciplined with every single decision to defeat comfort.
Speaking of strength, we have to talk about mental toughness. That's the focus of Section 6. This is the constant daily choice between effort and relief. Mental toughness, simply defined, is the ability to keep moving forward when every single part of you wants to stop. It's the consistent choice of effort over relief.
And life is constantly presenting us with this choice point.
Constantly. Choose effort and grow stronger, or choose relief and stay weak. If you constantly choose the easy road, you never push the boundaries of your capacity. You never truly discover what you're capable of achieving.
And the mind has to be trained to recognize the correct temporal cost of these choices. Otherwise, the immediate urge just wins every time.
This is the temporal cost mechanism. The discomfort of effort is profoundly temporary. It fades quickly.
A tough workout is over in an hour.
A difficult report is done by 5 p.m. But the weakness and the accumulating regret that come from chasing immediate relief, that lasts much longer.
Indefinitely, sometimes.
If you push yourself to complete the work, the pain fades, and the long-term reward and pride remain. If you give in to relief, the comfort fades almost instantly, and the shame and regret remain. You have to train yourself to live for the long reward.
How do we recognize that false relief when it comes disguised as harmless and necessary?
False relief disguises itself constantly. Often, it appears as recovery that hasn't been earned yet. It looks like checking your phone to avoid a task, or reaching for food when you're stressed instead of handling the stressor. These small, micro choices accumulate into profound patterns of weakness.
A 5-minute break turns into an hour wasted.
A skipped day turns into weeks of neglected goals. You have to be ruthless in rejecting false relief by asking yourself, am I genuinely recovering from effort, or am I just escaping from impending effort?
So how do we actively train this resilience? Do we seek out difficult things intentionally?
Yes, you start small, finish a workout without cutting it short, complete a specific high-value task before checking your phone, or stay focused for a set, uncomfortable amount of time.
And then deliberately seek effort.
Choose the stairs instead of the elevator. Stay with a complex problem for an extra 15 minutes instead of quitting. Each small, deliberate victory strengthens your tolerance for effort and builds deep, lasting resilience.
And what about the self-respect and trust component we talked about earlier?
Choosing effort builds self-respect and trust in yourself. I can be trusted to finish what I start, even when it's hard. That trust builds internal pride and fuels genuine confidence.
Choosing relief, conversely, loses self-respect immediately.
You may enjoy the comfort in the moment, but later you feel disappointed in yourself. It weakens your confidence and leads to profound self-doubt. The only way to reverse that deficit is to consistently choose effort over ease.
So we absolutely need a mindset shift here. Effort is training, not punishment.
That is the ultimate shift. Stop seeing effort as punishment for past weakness or as a consequence of poor planning. It is the path to strength.
Every difficult task is a focused workout for the mind.
Every uncomfortable moment is practice for resilience. People who see effort as training, they welcome it because they understand its inherent value. They adopt strict personal rules, like, I will not go to bed until my daily target is complete. That acts as an anchor against temptation.
And we have to acknowledge that the hardest part, the moment most people quit, is always the very beginning.
Always. The first few minutes of pushing yourself feel exponentially heavier than the rest of the task. That initial resistance is the final hurdle before momentum kicks in.
And that's where most people surrender.
But if you force yourself past that beginning, the first rep, the first paragraph, the first 5 minutes, the body and mind adjust. The chemical resistance fades, and the effort becomes manageable. If you push through that initial resistance repeatedly, your mental toughness grows naturally and quickly.
Ultimately, this choice defines not just our capacity, but our legacy.
Effort gives life meaning. It builds skills, resilience, and confidence that cannot be bought. You will be proud of the times you chose effort, not the times you escaped into comfort. Mental toughness is simply a habit you create by consistently choosing the temporary discomfort of effort.
And this mental toughness is necessary for the next battle, which is the internal warfare required to fight those small, immediate urges. This moves us into Section 7, fighting impulses with long-term pain. Impulses are these sudden, powerful, and temporary urges that pull you toward instant pleasure. Skipping a workout, eating poorly, delaying work. They offer short relief, but create predictable long-term pain.
The critical trap here is that the impulse blinds you entirely from seeing the long-term consequence.
It does. It hijacks your immediate reward system. It convinces you to focus only on the now. The skipped workout feels easier now. The delayed work feels lighter now.
But tomorrow you feel weaker, you feel further behind, and you carry guilt and regret.
Regret is the heavy emotional pain impulses never show you in advance. We have to beat that myopia.
So the strategy is to intentionally force ourselves to break that blindness. How do we execute the pause and project technique when the impulse is just screaming for immediate satisfaction?
The secret is to interrupt the flow. When the impulse comes, you have to consciously halt all movement. Take a deep breath, and then you pause and project.
Okay, what does that mean?
It involves vividly projecting yourself 24 hours or 1 week into the future. Visualizing the long-term pain of surrendering to that impulse. Picture the stress of piled-up work, the specific feeling of guilt from no progress, the disappointment you'll feel in yourself.
So that sharp emotional reminder of the consequence.
It cuts through the false pleasure of the impulse.
We also have to internalize that impulses are profoundly temporary.
They feel catastrophic in the moment, but their intensity passes quickly, usually within 5 to 15 minutes. If you commit to the pause, remind yourself of the long-term pain, and hold the line, the impulse will weaken and pass. Immediate obedience prevents this natural decay process entirely.
Awareness of our specific personal triggers is also crucial here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Self-awareness is the first defense. Identify the situations that reliably trigger your impulse's tiredness, specific times of day, stress, boredom, or environments, and then decide in advance, when you are strong, how you will respond.
So when the urge appears, you're not surprised.
You won't be surprised. You'll already have the strategy of long-term vision ready to deploy.
And if urge is present, we should replace it with a constructive action, rather than just suppressing the energy.
Use a replacement strategy to redirect that surge of energy. If you feel the intense urge to eat poorly, drink a large glass of water first. If you feel the urge to skip work, commit to starting a small, low-friction piece of the work instead. Just one sentence.
This redirects the energy flow.
And your brain learns that when the urge arrives, you transform that energy into something useful, rather than obeying the urge blindly.
This entire section really ties back to the concept of choosing our pain wisely.
Discipline requires consistently choosing the pain that serves you. The temporary, productive discomfort of effort over the pain that destroys you, the lasting, debilitating regret. When you feel the impulse, you have to ask yourself with brutal honesty which pain you're choosing. If you resist, you choose the shorter serving pain.
And this commitment to the pause creates what we call the gap of power.
This is the core mechanism of self-mastery. The key to true control is creating a neurological and psychological gap between the impulse, the urge, and the action, the surrender. That pause is where self-mastery lies. It allows you to act based on a higher standard, based on long-term vision, not on lower immediate desire.
So you commit to never acting blindly on an impulse.
You hold that line, and in that precious space, your discipline resides and grows.
Once we master those internal battles, the negotiation, the hesitation, and the impulse we need to ensure the hard-won energy we gain is properly deployed. This transitions us to Section 8, Disciplined Energy Direction. Discipline is not just about forcing yourself to act. It's fundamentally about directing that limited daily energy supply toward the tasks that truly matter and create the highest leverage.
Hard work without focus is just wasted, inefficient effort.
You can work hard all day, feel exhausted, and still feel completely empty if your energy went to things that made no real long-term difference.
And this is the critical trap of undirected energy, where people scatter their finite mental and physical resources across too many low-leverage things, reacting to every message, scrolling social media, or getting lost in busy work.
They feel exhausted, yet profoundly unfulfilled.
Because nothing truly important has been built or moved forward.
So the immediate first step is clarity of priorities. You have to know what matters most.
You have to define your top 3 to 5 highest priorities, the few things that create the biggest lasting results in your life, whether that's health, financial growth, stability, or craft mastery.
And discipline means fiercely aligning your energy with those priorities.
90% of your available energy only with those priorities. If you are not clear on your priorities, the world and other people will gladly decide for you where your energy goes. And the world will rarely direct you toward your own highest aspirations.
So how do we practically protect that focus from the constant magnetic demands of the world?
We use the top 3 task rule. Every day, you commit to completing the 3 most important long-term aligned tasks before you allow yourself to engage in anything else.
These aren't errands.
No, these are the high-leverage actions that ensure daily progress in what truly counts. You have to flip the standard pattern. Do the important, difficult work first and leave the trivial or reactive tasks for later, or ideally, not at all.
This requires powerful boundaries, doesn't it? It requires the strength to say no.
It demands that specific form of courage. Discipline requires the strength to say no firmly and without guilt to protect your focus and energy. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you are saying no to something deeply meaningful.
If you constantly allow others to interrupt you or agree to obligations that don't serve your defined goals,
you are giving away your valuable finite energy to others' agendas.
we must also become expert at identifying false productivity. This is where self-deception hides.
Recognizing tasks that feel like work but create no real impact is essential for discipline. This includes endless organizing, over-researching a topic you already understand, or constantly checking emails under the guise of being responsive.
The disciplined person constantly, brutally asks, is this specific action moving me forward on my top 3 priorities?
And if the answer is a no, they redirect immediately. This separates the truly productive from the perpetually busy yet static.
And we should manage our peak energy hours with almost religious fervor.
You must identify your peak sharp hours when your cognitive function and clarity are highest, whether that's morning, late afternoon, or evening. And you must fiercely guard that time for the most important, most demanding work.
Don't waste your sharpest energy on trivial tasks.
Like scheduling or answering simple messages. Directing your best energy to your best work multiplies your results dramatically, often achieving in 1 hour what a tired mind achieves in 3.
This intentional energy direction requires courage because it means disappointing others who demand your time.
It absolutely does. People will always want your attention and energy for things that benefit them, not you. If you do not stand firm and protect your time, you will constantly give away your energy until you have none left for your own vision.
Discipline is intentionality.
You must possess the courage of direction to protect your focus, because if you waste your energy, nobody else pays the price. You do, in the form of stagnant potential.
We've moved through confrontation, instant action, internal control, repetition, pressure, and strategic energy direction. This sets the stage for our final step, the true point of transformation. Conditioning the mind to act without motivation in Section 9. This section begins with the core realization that motivation is completely unreliable. It's a feeling. It comes and goes like the tide. Building your life on waiting for motivation ensures profound inconsistency.
You'll only act when conditions feel emotionally perfect.
And here's the key, counterintuitive insight that unlocks high performance. Action does not depend on motivation. Action creates its own energy and momentum.
So many people get this completely backwards. They sit and wait for the right emotion, the spark of inspiration, to appear before they begin.
But inspiration often only arrives after action has already begun.
The very act of moving, the physical process of beginning the task, generates the physiological and psychological momentum that feelings alone just cannot provide.
So the conditioning process is about removing the option of choice from the equation entirely.
Exactly. When you decide something must be done, you no longer wait to see if you feel like it or if the conditions are good. You act because it is required, regardless of how you feel.
Like a soldier performing a necessary drill.
Or a pilot checking pre-flight systems. You build rules for yourself that do not depend on moods or desires.
And those rules become your non-negotiables, the things that happen every single day.
Commitments that happen every day no matter what external or internal conditions are present. Writing X words, exercising for Y time, reading Z pages. By repeating these actions daily, your brain learns that they are automatic, expected inputs.
And it bypasses the mental debate entirely.
That repetition is conditioning. You stop debating with yourself in the morning, the identity and the habit take over.
We also need to continuously shorten that gap between decision and action, tying back to the instant response mechanism.
You must minimize the time between making a decision and executing the action. Delay feeds hesitation and kills discipline instantly. Immediate action, even if it's small, locks in the decision. It conditions your mind to obey your own command instantly and without question.
That speed removes the window where the excuse factory operates.
It slams it shut.
So how should we reframe motivation if we stop relying on it as a prerequisite for action?
Treat motivation as a profound bonus. When it's present, enjoy the extra energy and clarity. Use it to push harder. When it's absent, which it often will be, you ignore it completely and act anyway.
Stop granting motivation the power to dictate your success.
You operate on a higher standard, and that standard is discipline, which is independent of your mood.
And this ultimately leads to identity-driven discipline.
This is the final stage. Stop saying, I need motivation to do this. Start saying, I am the kind of person who does this work every day.
When you connect action to who you are, your identity, rather than how you temporarily feel,
your actions become fundamentally consistent and inevitable. Identity-driven discipline is the strongest force in human behavior.
And finally, we have to embrace discomfort as a necessary partner in this conditioning.
Conditioning involves intentionally teaching yourself that you can act and even perform well, even when the task feels highly unpleasant, boring, or difficult. You can write when you're uninspired, you can train when your body feels heavy, you can focus when your mind is tired.
And by consistently doing so, you teach yourself the most powerful truth of all.
Your feelings are not in charge. You are.
The profound result of this conditioning is that the mind is trained until action just becomes second nature.
You move forward naturally without constant, draining internal struggle. You no longer need to wait for inspiration to visit you or for a perfect confluence of circumstances. You live with a deep, quiet certainty, knowing that no matter what, you will act. That certainty is the foundation of discipline and unstoppable progress in any area of life.
What a massive, actionable shift we've covered here. Discipline is not some mystical quality you wait for. It's the concrete result of forcing specific actions.
Refusing to negotiate with laziness, acting instantly to defeat the inner critic.
Controlling your thoughts with strict direction, forcing repetition until it becomes automatic, using self-imposed pressure, choosing temporary effort over lasting regret.
Fighting impulses with long-term vision, directing your limited energy wisely, and conditioning action to be independent of feeling.
The truly disciplined life is built by winning those small impulse battles every single day. The transformation, that shift to certainty, is entirely available to you, but it demands patience and persistence with the repetition of these small, difficult choices.
Here's a provocative thought for you to carry forward, something to mull over today. The reason most people never fundamentally change is not because they lack ability or intelligence, but because they lack the necessary patience with repetition.
They give up when the resistance is highest.
Just before the habit is about to take root.
So your challenge is simple, and it starts right now. Commit to a single small behavior. It could be writing one single paragraph, or standing up instantly with your alarm tomorrow morning and force its repetition daily for 30 days.
Commit to it not because you feel motivated, but just to witness the exact moment your brain surrenders and the behavior becomes a part of who you are.
The life you want is waiting patiently, but only for the person who learns to act without delay and choose effort over ease. Thank you for diving deep with us.